call me by your name and I'll call you by mine. That's the actual quote, and not the one I butchered in the episode. In our second entry in the Oscars 2018 series, we talk about how this film relates to Stealing Beauty and get close and personal about sexuality and peaches. Hello guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How's life?
Yeah, good.
Life is good.
I've had a massive visual change.
Yes, Adam has new glasses.
Yeah, I might post this. It's rare we ever put selfies of ourselves on the Instagram page, but I might do it next week. I found out that I've just picked these glasses because I wanted a major change in like the frame style, and turns out they're very similar to James Dean glasses from some of the photo shoots. I'm like, oh great, I've picked another set of James Dean glasses.
Of course they are.
So if you Google James Dean coffee table, essentially it's him having breakfast, and those glasses are very similar to the ones I have.
Of course.
Of course, because I shared the birthday with James Dean.
It's actually a nice little link to the film that we're about to talk about too. It's like teenage angst and freaking out when you're young.
So today is all about Call Me By Your Name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Starring.
Oh, of course.
Armie Hammer, Timothée Chalamet, Michael Stuhlbarg, Amira Kassar, and Esther Garel. I probably butchered all of those names.
So, starting with an erratum, I said in a previous episode that Oliver was 25 and Elio was 14. Elio is 17 in this. So, whatever the age, Elio is still not legal. So, I very well see the conservative point here. And I must say it's a point that bugged me before going in. Because some of the people who see this movie as wonderful also think it was fine for Roman Polanski to drug a 14-year-old and have sex with her. Now, leaving that behind and giving all the chances in the world to this film, because that's what we do here, watching it and right after, I had a familiar sentiment, a feeling I saw the film before, and I googled one thing afterwards. It was Stealing Beauty, Call Me By Your Name. Turns out the director, Luca Guadagnino, and Bernardo Bertolucci, who directed Stealing Beauty, mutually admire each other.
Yeah, definitely.
The first person to watch all of Luca's rough cuts is Bernardo Bertolucci.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Also, the article I've read, which explains all of this, also talks about how many critics paralleled Call Me By Your Name with Stealing Beauty. And yeah, I can certainly see why. Also, I must say, I don't think I would have appreciated this movie if Stealing Beauty had not been in the top 3 of my most influential movies of all time.
Seriously?
Ah.
Yeah.
Is that just because I love Tyler or for other reasons?
Well, see...
Yann is much more intelligent than that.
Well, yeah, no, Yann's like, I love Liz Tyler. Why not?
See, I don't like being told what to think, especially aggressively and without arguments making sense. I'm told to find this film to be a wonderful love story because it's progressive and new to portray a gay love story, or even better, it would be anti-Semitic not to love this story. Fuck this. I like this movie because it reminded me of Stealing Beauty. It has the same vibe, the same eerie je ne sais quoi. It's a good movie. Again, like Black Panther, this one is not going to do jack shit for gay rights. It's a nice piece of art, which I hope will influence youngsters, just like Stealing Beauty influenced me. So how did it influence me, and why did I make you suffer 4 hours of slow movies? Because we watched Stealing Beauty, and a few hours later, we watched Call Me By Your Name.
That was a long day.
I fell in love with Liv Tyler instantly when I saw this movie when it was released in 1996, and it screwed with my studies. I was like madly in love, and if I'm being honest, I probably was in love with Lucy, which is a fictional character.
Ah, okay.
This film made me a hopeless romantic.
How old were you?
17.
Okay, so young.
Yeah.
And at that impressionable age, yeah, especially when you see something like that. I was madly in love at 17 in my first relationship.
With you?
Yeah, in my first relationship. And did you just say with you?
No, not with me. We didn't know each other.
We hadn't met yet.
No, I said, was it a fictional character as well?
No, it was a real person. I don't think I had a. Did I ever have like a massive crush on a fictional character?
I mean, everyone does.
Yeah, I'd have to think about it. Like, what was the first one? But to go back, I've got to you. In the last episode, we mentioned that Anouk's mum bought me 2 books to help us with this podcast. And when Yann said anti-Semitic, I immediately went to the book. The book I'm referring to is the Oxford Dictionary of World History. So I'll just read you the end entry of anti-Semitism.
That's cool because it also applies to Arabs.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yes,
Yeah.
The entry starts hostility towards and discrimination against Jewish people. Although there are other Semitic peoples, notably Arabs, and Arabs, anti-Semites is only used to refer to the prejudice against Jewish people. The entry then goes to talk on about where it originates, the 19th century, early 20th century, talks about the Second World War, and then ends with the note, there is some evidence that anti-Semitism has increased in the 21st century, notably in the Arab world. The rest of the entry is mostly about the Hitler Youth and Soviet Russia, and after the Second World War. But that's quite interesting to think, because I know it's Italy and it's not Eastern Europe, but Central Europe is not that far off from Eastern Europe.
No, and Italy has this very strong religious centre. And I mean, it might be a stereotype to think Italians are very religious, but we studied with Italians who were brought up in Italy, and they are gay, and they said that it was really hard, and it was like they had to keep it secret and all this stuff. And I don't know, I've never had that feeling that, but obviously because I'm not gay, that there's been this like fear around me.
No.
And so I wasn't really brought up with that fear. So maybe watching this film was quite different to me because I saw it as something very normal. And the age, and maybe it's a kind of hats off to the director, because it wasn't like in your face, like, do you have a problem with this? And I'm trying to be progressive, and this is a gay couple that has like, years between them and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't like that. It was just 2 people that were in love.
Well, we're aware that it's a book, right?
Yeah, well, yes.
The book came out in 2007 by an American writer, Andre Ichiman, I'm going to say, Aciman, Ichman.
Yeah, isn't there like a accent, something on
Andre
the I?
has an accent at the end of Andre. And the age is the same in the book. It's 17 and 24.
Now, I had the feeling, because we are all aware that male and females are not the same here. So I had the feeling that Stealing Beauty was more about romance. I feel like here there was way more desire than there was in the...
Definitely.
So I don't know if it's playing on stereotypes or whatever, like females are looking for love and males for lust.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's to do with the naivety of being young and desiring something. Like, I'm sure we all remember like having mad crushes on men or women, when you're younger, and you have that. It's like always there. And if they do like one little thing, you're like, oh, it's amazing. Sort of like you follow along, almost like a deer in not a deer in headlights. That's a terrible analogy. Like a little puppy.
Yeah, because it's so new and it's an amazing feeling. I mean, anyone will tell you that being in love is just something that feels amazing, especially in the first few months.
Yeah, of course.
And they only knew each other for 2 months, right? Few months.
I think the finding of love is always the very not necessarily slow, but it's a long period. Like you take a long time. Like I know for a fact when I was just not deciding, like beginning to fall in love with you, there was a lot of like in my head going, do I? Like you question yourself. You constantly ask yourself in your own head, like, what are these feelings? You try and understand it before you act on them. And I feel like that's what this film is.
Yeah.
A lot of the runtime is him figuring out where he stands. I mean, he had sex with it's not Marcia, is it?
The girl?
The girl. Marta or something. Yeah. Marcia.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, they have sex.
I'm not sure.
I'm sure they have sex in the film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So.
And I think it was.
It's discovering himself.
I think it seemed like it was implying that she lost her virginity to him, and he to her. Like that was like a very virginal.
Yeah.
And it looked painful and awkward. And
am I doing it right?
And it seemed like he also it finished quickly. I think that's why he was apologizing.
Yeah. And which is funny because he also deflowers the protagonist in Lady Bird. That's the same, Timothée Chalamet.
Really?
Yes, and the guy playing the father here has a key role in The Shape of Water also.
Oh, how
Bloody hell.
That's
the trifecta of Oscar
the Oscars.
season.
Yes,
Father
yes.
was very good, actually.
It was a movie. It was a book, and so that's why they actually won the best adapted screenplay.
They won that at the BAFTAs, I know. Did they win it at the Oscars as well?
Oscars, yes.
Did they win it as well? Okay.
Yes.
I think there was definitely a stereotypical thing with Stealing Beauty because it was obsessed with her virginity. And I don't think that it was a sexist thing, like not at all. But it was just like, there is definitely an obsession with society and women's virginity and like losing it and hymens and all this kind of stuff and how important it is. And why is it important for a woman, and why is it, and actually some men do find it really difficult to lose it as well. And some women didn't have a problem with losing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's like,
Well, there's even some men that just, oh, you're a virgin. Yeah, goodbye.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
No,
yeah, horrible.
I think, you're right. There's a very societal shift if you're over the age of like 17, 18 and you haven't lost it. There's almost like, I know I felt
early 20s.
I didn't. This is awkward when my parents listen to this, but like I would, let's say, a late bloomer, right? I wasn't in my end of my teenage years, right? And I definitely felt there was like a pressure from even on me, like, is there something wrong with me that this isn't happening?
Especially being a guy, I'm sure that
yeah, of course,
there's an extra pressure. But I remember I went to an all-girls school in London, so I had massive pressure to lose my virginity. I remember just talking about it for ages, like it was just this massive thing. And when you did, it was something that you had to be proud of. And I feel like that was definitely talked about in Stealing Beauty. And at the thought of virginity and something that wasn't at all touched upon in Call Me By Your Name.
No. That was a different story. It was more. It was more about the. I don't know. What would you? I'm trying to think of the right words. I don't know. Finding love. I guess is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, I think also just finding yourself. Like he found out he was gay.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he knew. And I also don't think that he's bisexual just because he had a relationship with Marzia, which I thought was it must have been a very clever editing script. Directorial discussion. Because,
you want to name any other departments of the film?
Yeah, I probably should. No, I totally agree with you.
No, that was a joke, just because you're like the editing, the script, the directing. Like,
well, no,
you want the sound, makeup department as well.
No. I'm just saying that I should probably name them, but the way that they showed it was very. I don't want to say forced, but there was something that wasn't the same as him with Oliver.
Yeah, untrue.
Yeah, so it wasn't like he was like trying to find himself and
tell himself he was straight, sort of thing.
No, yeah, it felt like this was probably something that he should do or to try and get away from him being actually gay. It didn't feel like, I'm into women and I'm also it didn't feel like that at all. It was like, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Completely.
In terms of losing virginity, so just follow along, it's going somewhere, I promise. The funny thing is, just like I said, it would be counterproductive in the Black Panther episode, it would be counterproductive for me to be racist because I've got Senegalese blood in my veins. It would be counterproductive for me to be homophobic or homophobic, not like gay guys. Because the very first time I had sex was at 23 and it was not with a woman.
Ah, really?
That was not necessarily a good experience, but one which allowed me to know that was not for me.
Okay.
That's very interesting.
The more you know.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And that must be very uncommon. I mean, I don't know, but I
don't know if that's true, actually. I think you can have a sexual experience with somebody and just know, even if it's your first time, know that that's not for you. I don't know if it's uncommon, but...
that's not what I meant. I just meant that probably doesn't happen or it's not talked about, at least. That someone has sex the first time with someone and then realizes that they're not.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure actually quite a lot of gay and bisexual people do go through that.
Yeah. It's like the idea of like... I had an idea then, it's completely gone to my head. I've got it back. The fact that you're meant to know before you do something. It's like, how could you know something so fundamental about yourself until you do something about it?
Very true.
You know?
Yeah, and there's this repressed thing Like you're unsure, but you have sex with girls because that's the
thing to do.
The culturally appropriate thing.
It's almost what's expected of you if you're a guy. That's what you're brought up to believe. Almost like there's a very secretive thing about growing up as a gay person, and that's been portrayed through all types of culture, books, plays, poems, songs. All of them have.
I think it's even as bad as it's normalized. So people don't even think about the fact that they say, oh, I lost my virginity, and then you immediately think, oh, it must have been to this the opposite
sex, correct?
And the person and the type of person.
I'm
gender,
triggered.
Oh yes, apologies. This is probably very trigger.
Actually, no. Person would work.
Person
Christmas.
Person Christmas, exactly. Where it's just not talked about. So that's very interesting. And actually, that's I understand that you shouldn't like a film just because it's trying to like break barriers and stuff. No. It's a bad film. It's a bad film, right? But it's nice to know that this is what people are talking about, and it's getting like a huge backing. But apparently there were 20 different groups of people that produced this film.
Wow.
So that's a lot of support from people that wanted to make this film happen.
Or people desperate to get it off the ground. People wanted it to be seen. That's the other thing you can interpret from lots of production companies, that you want to make this film, but you need the help. And they're like, we'll help you. Speaking of the film, it's got the most interesting opening credits I've seen in a long time. It reminded me of like early Disney. You remember like Dumbo and stuff, where they would show, or even any early 40s, 50s movies, where they would show the credits at the beginning of the movie, as opposed to the end.
Yes.
And we had the whole opening with pictures of sculptures in the background, which I thought, I haven't seen this for a while.
That's very true.
Yeah, just like the end credits. Also, I've never seen that before.
Well, we'll get.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Indeed, I didn't notice first time I saw it, but yesterday I indeed noticed the opening credits. Yeah, that was different for sure.
I also liked the whole art design of it as well. The graphics for the production team.
And I mean the decision to have the pictures of the statues in the beginning, that kind of shows importance, right? So that seems like a homage to Stealing Beauty.
Yeah, that's what I immediately thought, because we'd watched them back to back.
Yes.
I also noticed in the end credits, both films credit their sculptures. It's first in Stealing Beauty. I don't know for a fact if it's first in. It might be even in the opening credits of.
Probably.
I think it is in the opening
credits. That's when we
credits.
see them. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously there's a statue later on in the film where they find it at the bottom of this lake. They credit the sculptures. I was thinking that when we watched Stealing Beauty, I'm like, who did these? And I'm like, oh, there he is. Because sculpting is not easy. Sculpting has got to be like one of the hardest art forms.
It takes like years as well, because there are so many different things that you have to master, like
it's
woodwork and chainsaws and.
Yeah, there were bronze here, but it was wood.
It was wood in Stealing Beauty.
Yeah.
That's the thing I've always admired about sculpting, because it's one of the few. I know there are others that it's like permanent. Like if you make a mistake, you got to start again.
Yeah, that's very true.
I know with painting you can, or maybe you paint over it, but a lot of people would start again. But
Well, my mom sculpts.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
With old techniques like lost wax technique, and when she started bronze. So basically, you do a mold in clay or something. Like you make it sure it's. I don't remember exactly, but that it's actually solid. Then you cast something the same material used to to have the arms fixed.
Okay.
I don't know. Plaster? No, cast. Yeah, the same kind of material.
Oh, the things you get for if you have a human cast.
Yeah, like
Is that plaster? No.
Yeah.
Could be plaster.
Plaster.
Okay. And then the bronze is poured into the thingy, and it's and you've got numbering and everything. So
cool.
yeah, it's quite. It's
a very fine.
And that's very expensive to actually. Yeah, because you have to. There are some special places where you get those.
Hence why sculptors are Hence why statues are so expensive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And yeah, this one, the one that was found in the lake, was empty. So it differs on the techniques, because some are completely like filled, which is very, very heavy then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I think I see. Yeah, so there's the model, clay model, and then there is the thingy. And so the actual bronze material actually goes into the thin layer to actually create so that's always,
Okay. That makes sense.
Anyway, in movies, there's something I always find funny, and it happened here. It always almost happens, but the fact that the name of the film is actually said once. I call me by your name and I call you by yours. I always find, I don't know if it's a rule or something, because most of the times, there are only like a few times I can count where it doesn't happen, where the actual title of the movie is said by one character at some point.
Yeah.
That's true. It gives you a little bit of a thrill whenever you hear the title. You're like, oh, that's what the movie's called.
Yeah.
Song titles are usually never, some of the best ones aren't said, but a lot of them are like chorus lines,
Yeah.
So that's why I always try and find working titles for songs, because they're always like, the working title is always a bit more interesting, because they're like, wow, that's where they started, and then they got to where they did.
Yeah, and it's also usually about the song and what the subject, rather than what they actually say.
So rewatching both Stealing Beauty and Call Me by Your Name, I did a list of similarities. So that's why I said to you afterwards, well, they're just both mainly the same movie. Well, not exactly the same. They both have an American stranger coming from the outside.
Yeah.
It's on the countryside, small town. The newcomer is working with the dad of the family.
Yeah.
Seamless use of Italian, English, and French. Way more French in Call Me by Your Name, though. Elio struggling to sleep in bed, just like Lucy at some point.
That's true.
It's crazy. Slow paced.
Yep.
Nothing really happens. Disturbed masturbation, which I never really noticed in Stealing Beauty, but watching it yesterday and with all those years of
experience,
but I never noticed it before today. There's a swimming pool and stuff happening in the swimming pool.
That's really what I'm jealous about Europeans, man. Scotland, there's no way you could have a swimming pool. It'd be ice, and there'd be cans of tennis lager in it, and there'd be just leaves, everything. Just be a mess. You just couldn't have one.
You'd have to have an indoor kind of heated pool.
The protagonist is an artist. Lucy writes poetry while Elio writes and does music.
Yes.
He transposed music.
Transcribes
music, yeah. Sheet music.
Extensive use of guitar and classical music.
Yeah.
The protagonist is seeing the object of his or her desire interested in someone else.
Yeah.
A tiny bit of German.
It's true.
Oh, yeah.
Arguments in Italian around the table.
Yeah.
Lucy is always wondering where Nicolo is when Elio is always looking for Oliver. It drags a long time, but if you think about it, wouldn't you take your time in that situation?
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Here's the big thing, right? Instead of saying this is the gripe of the film, which turns out this is my major gripe, is the phrase we've been looking for a couple of episodes. Like, what's the phrase Adam always says? And it is, here's my major gripe, or this is my major gripe. We don't really need to do a plot summary, because Yann just did it there, essentially, of this film.
Yeah, and I also think that with quite a lot of our podcasts, you should probably see the films before you listen, because there's lots of spoilers, and also we won't be making any sense if you haven't seen these films.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I think that should just be a known from now on, that just watch the film before you watch the podcast.
Yeah.
Listen.
Anyway, the thing is that I thought, you think these films are slow. I'm glad we did not review this film on the day of watching both, because we would have had a different critique. Having had time to step away from both of them, they're exactly the length they need to be. There is nothing you want to cut out, or you want more of.
I mean, I even said this, that halfway through we checked, we saw that, there was still like an hour and a half left of Call Me By Your Name, and just thinking, oh my God, like you feel like you've just been living with these people for years. But then looking back, like watching the whole thing and looking back, what scene would you take out? And you wouldn't edit any more of it. You needed every single scene, and it's long, and you have to focus on it, and it's at times it's tough, but I don't think it's because it's a boring, bad film at times. It's just because you need to like live in their world.
It kind of highlighted to me that there are films that exist out there that people, nowadays with like Netflix and DVDs, people like watch them at home. So like they've got your phone handy, they can do ironing, do whatever you want. This reminded me that the films, you really shouldn't do anything else. You need to put everything away. Like being at the cinema, don't be on your phone. You couldn't be. I feel there's an attention span weakness with people nowadays. And I'm included, because I felt it when watching Call Me by Your Name, because I'd watched one film previously. Like, I was exhausted, but I was interested. I think there is a big thing about some films are just, I know there's a term, popcorn flick, which is like you can just mindlessly watch it while eating popcorn.
Well, there are those who make money. Because I'm not sure. I think like this one just made 37 million. Did I check?
For a change, I'm going to fact check.
We have no idea I checked on Box Office Mojo, but it might have been something else. But there is no info on the budget in the Box Office Mojo thingy.
There must have been loads of like small production companies just starting and like kind of Kickstarter style, just random people giving money, because it seemed very indie in the beginning and then just became this big film.
Okay, so the budget of Call Me by Your Name was $3.5 million US.
Okay.
The box office at the moment is $32.2 million US.
Okay, I checked something else then. Okay, cool.
That's pretty good though.
Yeah, that's really good. I don't know if that's domestic or overall. I assume that's overall.
What site is that? Because on Box Office Mojo, I don't get those numbers.
That's just if you whack it into Google.
Yeah, right. Something I forgot. Both protagonists get high and vomit.
Yes, I think they were high. It didn't seem like drunk.
Lucy was, but I'm not sure about Elio. I am. Yeah, probably.
He vomit?
He vomits just before Oliver goes to dance with a lady in front of the church thingy.
Oh, yeah.
And it just seemed very like a high vibe I got from the whole scene. Like it didn't seem drunk, but...
Yeah.
From Box Office Mojo, Yann, total domestic as of March 18th, 17,736,560.
Oh, what did
domestic.
I check then? Okay.
Worldwide, $36,240,606. So its foreign market is higher just by its domestic market, which makes sense, because domestic is only America, foreign is everyone else.
Yeah. Well, loads of movies are, I think DC movies are saved by worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they actually do some cash with the DC movies. So that's why they continue making them. Something I realized, it's just a second back on Sleeping Beauty there, because I Googled that, I wasn't sure. And Niccolo and Osvaldo are brothers.
Oh.
I never realized that.
I didn't realize that either.
So there's even another layer. So the guy she actually ends up with and the guy she was in love with are
really?
brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So actually that was one of the interesting things that you kept on seeing Niccolo with different women in different stages of the film. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, like every 5 minutes.
Doing
okay.
with someone different and doing something like very artistic and
see, for the YouTube video version of this episode, should we like have the screen change, like so when we talk about Sleeping Beauty, it's like Sleeping Beauty. It's no Stealing Beauty, not Stealing Beauty, and then it changes like Call Me by Your Name. So like people are like, wait, Nicola wasn't in this film. What's going on?
We'll definitely have to write on the podcast like we're talking about both films here, because
it'll be an episode on, well, maybe not an episode on both, but it'll have Call Me by Your Name featuring Stealing
heavily
Beauty, featuring Stealing Beauty.
When we were watching. Just one more thing then. Stealing Beauty, I heard you say, Adam, and I agree partly that there was a lot of exposition. There was, but meaningless exposition. Because what really was about her trying to find a father, you don't get that. You don't really, if you're not focused, you really don't understand why. Well, okay, she's asking random questions to people and that kind of stuff, the identity quest and things. Which gets me to the point that both of them have a lot of unsaid things. And I actually had to watch, so what must be the turning point in Call Me by Your Name, when they are both at the World War I monument, right? Mm. And when Elio says a few things and Oliver says, am I understanding what you're saying or whatever, that kind of discussion, I had to watch it 3 times because I didn't understand or catch right away what was happening here.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was confession.
It was, and
Well, it wasn't clear to me the first time, I must say.
no, I missed what Elio said to make Oliver then say, we don't talk about these things. I missed what, yes, yeah. But it seemed that was the first time that he'd confessed that I feel, I have feelings for you.
Yeah, I got that. I got that right away. But I just checked because I wasn't sure. It was actually said, and it's not clearly said. Probably that's why.
Okay.
It's just you understand the thing, but it was a bit unclear to me. Anyway, both films were a 15 rating.
Or R in America.
Yeah, which is probably a bit unfair because you've got loads more flesh, and then Call Me by Your Name. I feel.
Oh my, yes. Stealing Beauty definitely has no issue in showing sex and and bodies, but it didn't feel disgusting or kind of overly sexualized. It was very real, very European.
It's to do with the board of certifications in every country, because every country has different ratings. For example, in America, if there's too much sex, it raises the rating. Like, sex is more likely to change your rating than violence. Let's say
vulgar language.
Yeah. I'm not sure what exactly what British standards are, but I think it's pretty close. I think it might be more towards violence over here as opposed to sexual content. But I think that's the case with a lot of people. I know, for example, there's a video game called Hostel 2. No, not Hostel 2. Manhunt 2. Which is like banned categorically all over the place because it was just too violent. But this was back in like the PS2 era. Like, we've had way more violent games than that probably by now. You get, or for example, the hot coffee incident from Grand Theft Auto, where there was a mini game locked in the game behind code that they shut off, which was to do with like enhancing, like, it was an end stage to your romancing mini game where it was like a sex scene. It was a mini game that you played, and somebody just went into the files and turned it on in the game so you could get it. And that, if that was in the game, that would make it an adult game as opposed to just an 18 or a mature game, So video game stores don't stock. Most mainstream stores do not stock adult games.
Peggy 18.
Yeah, that's your max you can get.
So every 4 to 5 years, the BBFC carries out a major public consultation exercise to find out what the public thinks about the age rating of films and videos before they're released. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's ever changing.
So it's ever changing, and it depends on society's changes. 15, let me just look up what that means.
Okay, then in the meantime,
I have it. But you can carry on.
It's fine. Yeah, go on.
So no one younger than 15 may see a 15 film in a cinema.
These 18 is the same. 12A is a child accompanied by an adult over the age of 12.
That's 12, yeah. So it's discrimination. The work as a whole must not endorse discriminatory language or behavior, although there may be racist, homophobic, or other discriminatory themes and language. So I'm guessing it can't be like, yeah, we are racist. It's like making a theme about racism.
Any Tarantino movie saying the N-word, basically. You can't say the N-word in a 12, probably.
Drug taking may be shown, but the work as a whole must not promote or encourage drug misuse.
Trainspotting.
For example,
Trainspotting 18.
For example, through instructional detail. So that's probably with Trainspotting. They probably weren't allowed to show exactly what you do.
With the schematics and stuff.
Yeah. The misuse of easily accessible and highly dangerous substances is unlikely to be acceptable, so like aerosols or solvents as well. Imitable behavior, dangerous behavior, hanging, suicide, or self-harming should not dwell on detail which could be copied. Whether depiction of easily accessible weapons is acceptable will depend on factors such as realism, context, and setting. There may be strong language. Very strong language may be permitted depending on the manner in which it is used, who is using the language, its frequency within the work as a whole, and any special contextual justification. Nudity. There are no constraints on nudity in a non-sexual or educational context. There may be nudity in a sexual context, but usually without strong detail. Sexual activity may be portrayed, but usually without strong detail. There may be strong verbal references to sexual behavior, but the strongest references are unlikely to be acceptable unless justified by context. Works whose primary purpose is sexual arousal or stimulation are unlikely to be acceptable.
Yeah, well, loads of movies are ruined by, they wanted PG-13.
Yeah, this is the big thing.
Deadpool was R, so they went all the way without worrying about.
The biggest one I remember as a kid was Dark Knight. The scene in Dark Knight with the why so serious, with the knife in the mouth.
Ooh.
That one scene nearly got that film a 15.
Really?
In Britain, for sure, because there was a big debate about it. Like, is this too much? Because I remember seeing it around 12, maybe even young. Hang on, it came out in probably Batman Begins was 08, and that must have been 2010. So I would have been 14. So just under the 15 bracket. That scene is intense.
Yeah, and also that's interesting because that's something that I didn't think about. That it's how to do something as well. It's not about the showing of violence. It's about, can someone learn from the behavior? So it must have been like him putting a knife in someone's mouth so people can learn that's how you do it.
Well, it's even that, or it's like the reason it will be a 12 is because they cut away to the guy. You see that in that shot, you see the other person's reaction with the other guy getting killed, as opposed to seeing him like pull the knife through and kill him. It's all to do with what you see as well. I mean, that's the case. I mean, a lot of films are ruined by the fact, Yann's right, that they send away your final edit and they come back and say, oh, this is an 18. And the studio goes, can't put that out then. We need this to be a 12 or a PG-13. We need this to be that. It's very rare that you'll get commercial films, Hollywood films, that aren't dictated what their age rating is going to be. Like superhero movies. There's 12 maximum, PG-13. They're never going to go R unless you were Deadpool, but that was the whole thing.
And there was the Seth Rogen animation with the sausage party.
Oh yeah,
that one was R, or like that was pretty intense. Vulgar language also. I've prepared quite a vulgar comment. I'm pretty happy about.
All right.
It's disgusting, but anyway. So the movie they start to discuss about the origin of the word apricot,
and
the
etymology of apricot.
And in the end, we are wondering about the peach and the destination of the cum.
Yes. But that etymology scene was before the peach eating scene?
Well before.
That was at the start, yes.
Yeah. So when you, obviously they decided to use peach because it's a lot more messy. And
Also
there's a lot more juice in it too. So they wanted that whole like juice.
Here's the thing: people that haven't seen this movie are gonna refer to this movie as, it's that peach movie, right? Like that's a lot of people do that. If they haven't seen a film, they just refer to one scene. For I don't know, Casablanca, you refer to the "here's looking at you, kid" scene, or
Which is funny because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter.
No,
the peach scene. If someone said to me like, "Oh yeah, peaches," I'd be like, "Well, you obviously haven't seen the film because the peach has got nothing to do with anything." I think it just adds to the fact that this boy is learning and is curious and is kind of, and also probably bored.
I'll be honest. I've never looked at a piece of fruit and gone, "Yeah, I want to fuck that."
I could have sex with that.
I really regret not having a camera to film. Yesterday.
Anouk, yeah.
When the peach scene came.
I was kind of freaking out because when Oliver came in, I was like immediately just knew, oh my God, he's going to eat that, isn't he? But I honestly thought that it was going to be like a full-on eating scene where he would eat the whole peach, but actually Elio broke down beforehand. So
do you think if he ate the peach, that would change the rating of the film?
It could be because it's
that,
like
detail, like over. People would say that was not grotesque. That's the wrong word. Gratuitous, maybe.
Yeah, no, it was a good idea that it stopped there because it then would have been like, okay, well, why?
Because it doesn't need to be anymore.
No,
the point is made.
And it was nice because I think that's what you do sometimes when you're building up to something and you're like falling in love and have all these like crazy desires, but then also like embarrassed. You do break down and cry.
Yeah,
because you're just like, and that would be embarrassing, someone that's older than you, more experienced than you, and all this stuff.
Someone you're in love with as well
has seen what you've just done.
Yeah, someone older than you. So that's a perfect segue to another department of filmmaking, casting. So yes. Oliver was supposed to be 25.
He looked like he was in his 30s to me.
And 34, I think.
Late 30s, yeah.
Which I thought was interesting because in Hollywood, and I know this isn't like a big budget Hollywood film, but in quite a lot of films, age is skewed completely because you have all of those high school films where the actors are definitely not in high school.
Well, think about Neil from The In-Betweeners, like he's 6 foot or something. I think he's about 30.
Yeah, exactly. So age has always been skewed, but
And screwed.
But if you're dealing with something where the age is well, it wasn't really important because it didn't really shove it in your face, but the fact that everyone's talking about it and saying like, oh, it's like, age difference in like a love gay couple thing. Why would you cast him as someone who was supposed to be 24? That's what I didn't understand, that like, why would they have decided
He's 31
to make him but also he looks like he's 31. Do you know what I mean? So there's an issue because there's loads of 31-year-olds that might be able to, be 24. But that's what I found a bit weird, because please don't tell me that this is a 17-year-old and a 24-year-old man, because it's not. It's just...
Did they ever mention his age in the film? I don't think they do.
In the actual film, no, they don't. So we're left with this. Yeah.
I think it's the fact of, well, Anouk, you're 25, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you look 25. I'm 22.
No.
I don't look 22. Yann, you're what, 38?
Yeah.
You don't look 38.
No.
Yann looks end of his 20s.
Yeah.
For sure. Like Yann's casting bracket is about 25 to 30 odd,
Yeah, that's...
You couldn't play your age. I could probably play 22, but I'm still in the teen. I'm still end of teens, early 20s. I can't do any older than that.
I might just be able to do my age, but I'd be a very young looking 25-year-old.
I think the point is like, what does a 24-year-old look like? Can you look at somebody and go, you're 24? I think that's what, and films really do struggle with that, because if you got a 24-year-old that looks too young, people will be like, oh, it's fine, because their age is deliberately not mentioned. Well, they might not be deliberately, and it might even be mentioned.
So do you think that was a deliberate thing to make him look older than 24?
He has to look older than the actor playing Elio, that's my opinion. The film doesn't, I don't think the film would work if they looked the similar age, because you would just think they are the same age,
But no, because what you could do is you could adapt the script and basically make him seem older by his intelligence.
Or you do exposition. Oh, I got this for my 24th birthday.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't like exposition.
But even then, if someone's 24, it doesn't matter. It's about how you act. So the fact that he definitely acts older,
helps,
because he's taller, he's broader, his face is much older, and he is really clever. Like, he talks about philosophy, and he's working with his father and Elio's father even, so it's like there's so many different things that he just seemed like he was, late 30s.
Did it bother you?
I mean, but when Yann said he's supposed to be 24, it bothered me, because he wasn't 24. But then again, now that we're talking about it, maybe I overreacted.
Well, it's not, because there is this Lolita one, written by Vladimir Nabokov. Like, I think she's 13 and the guy is 40 something.
Yeah.
So it's,
but that's like total pedophilia.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has fantasies about her being young and her friends, and he kind of totally manipulates her.
Or even in a commercial sense, Jodie Foster and Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver.
Yeah, I mean, that's her whole thing, that like she's virgin and she looks really young,
Isn't she meant to be 13 in the film?
Yeah,
she's like super young in the film.
Super young. So yeah, I don't know. That's one thing though that I totally didn't realize until you just said it, Yann, that Elio is underage, isn't legal, and that's maybe why Oliver freaks out after they have sex. Because I didn't understand why he was kind of so shady and weird about it, but maybe that's why. Well,
there is also this thing. I think in France it's 15. We've got like the sexual majority.
Okay.
So yeah, it's 18. You're legal, but 15. It's okay if the parents consent. So it's quite weird. Yeah, you won't. It's still. So there are two different categories. So there's abuse of a minor and abuse of a minor under 15. So it's minor under 15. You're just like, you're done. Like your life is just
close the door and you're away.
Yeah. And I think in France that's where the age is the 15, like the lowest. But I mean, I mean, you know that those some Arab countries, when they are married at 14 or 12 or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are still some countries that you've got to consummate the marriage. Some cultures won't believe that it's not a marriage until that happens.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to see the blood on the sheets afterwards.
Oh, jeez.
In the Gems plays, there's a moment that the whole court and everyone, all the warriors, they go into the actual bedroom to check that everything is. And it's so funny because the king is not really into girls, or if I remember correctly, or whatever. But it's very nice.
Or going back to Braveheart, where they bring in that law of
prima nocte.
Yeah, prima nocte.
I mean, that's...
There'll be no prima nocte in my country anymore, eh?
It's really, really, really,
Get
really...
away from my wife, Ken.
Really fucked up.
In terms of Oscars, well, I know you haven't seen Darkest Hour yet, but I would have voted for Timothée Chalamet over Gary Oldman anytime.
I have heard that Darkest Hour is quite boring, but I also think that because it's Churchill, and because it's World War II, and because it's, like British heritage and all this stuff, I think that's why he kind of had to win.
I mean...
It's, loads of politics, and you have to lobby to get into there. Before you had to be very, very good friends with Harvey, and now it's changed a bit.
Yeah.
Whoever the next Harvey is.
I think the kid is too young. You know how, as horrible as it sounds, the award system... it doesn't really mean anything. It is nice to be recognised by your peers, but again, at the end of the day, an award is an award. It's,
I think
me and Yann were just about to say the same thing. I think it does open doors for you I think that people on the floor, sadly, like us, don't see. Right. And so I think that's why it's something that you push for, because it basically allows you to do anything you kind of want.
I think I'll have to find the quote, but there's an interview where somebody says I think it might be Jack Nicholson actually, says to somebody, it's like, when you win that award, you're hot for that year until the next person comes and wins, and then it's their year, you're hot for that year, as opposed to you're nominated, and that'll stay around.
There's all the lobbying. If the studio is not lobbying, is not pushing forward the movie. Timothée Chalamet is 22. And I don't know when Jennifer Lawrence got her first one, but I think she was pretty young. And the Matilda, the musical, 4 girls, there were 10. They got an Olivier like a few years back.
Wow.
So,
amazing.
I don't remember what the youngest Oscar winner is, but
I heard mixed reviews about Matilda, so that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. About the unusual closing credits we talked about earlier. Also, I timed them yesterday, so it was 3 minutes.
Tansem O'Neill is the youngest.
Who?
Tansem O'Neill, 11 for Paper Moon 1973. Best actress in a supporting role.
Paper
Moon is for the Oscars, and I'll look up for the Olivier.
Aww.
Okay, so those closing credits, 3 minutes, and if I were to meet Timothée Chalamet, I would tell him it's a shame he didn't get the Oscar, and I would ask him what his internal monologue was for the very last scene.
Oh, I was literally thinking that when he was there, just thinking, what was his thought process? Because he definitely did have changes in his emotion. There were moments where he was kind of smiling. There were moments where he was completely broken down. There were moments where he was just staring into space. And then there was tears. Like, it wasn't just looking into the fire. It was like 6 different emotions, like one after the other. Just genius.
Yeah,
it's not easy to do as well. Like, especially as we have done a few short films, having a camera in front of you totally changes everything. Like, it makes you more nervous. It makes you more, I don't know. It's just, there's no way that you can't see the camera in front of you.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was able to do that and totally go into, like, internally is, I mean.
And the fact it could even be a mirror as well.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because it's a fact, if he is genuinely in front of that fireplace, then it's probably a mirror with the camera shooting the mirror to get that shot.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact in Lord of the Rings, to get horses near fire, they used mirrors, so it looks like the horse is in the room, but actually the fire is like down a hallway the other way. So you use reflection to get
Genius.
it. So it may very well be that he's looking at a mirror of himself and a fireplace. We don't know how they got the shot, but
It's interesting.
Yeah.
it's single-handedly the best end credit scene I've ever seen in history.
I totally agree. I mean, there's loads of, I know that we were talking about this earlier. We can't find the name of it, but there's a Japanese film that does this. But I think there's no music.
It's just silent, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's much longer and you don't have credit. So it's just, you literally just have to watch her crying. We're going to need to find out what this film is, but
There is no music afterwards. So the rest of the actual credits
that's true.
without music.
It's silence. It's got the sound of the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fully for the fire, yeah.
It's nice.
Indeed.
Did you guys get any flashbacks to Victoria watching these two movies? I did.
Oh, no, I didn't.
In the sense of it, how the first 60 minutes of Victoria, nothing happens. It's her just hanging out with the guys. I got the same feeling again, and it made me, I don't know, it made me kind of wish this film was European more than just, use of English in a way. I don't know why. I've never really had that thought in my life. Like, I wish this was more, European.
You wanted less English?
I wouldn't say I wanted less. It felt like it was going to be, mostly Italian or French, but I don't know. But I definitely had moments of going, yeah, I remember Victoria watching this.
I really want to see that film again.
Victoria?
Yeah, it was so good. But actually, I did look it up. Timothée Chalamet is fluent in French.
Yes.
So, I mean, that was probably pretty easy for him to, I was wondering because obviously he has to speak, he's American completely, but so I was wondering if he had to only learn the lines in French, which I'm sure they've done in the past. Like someone's just come in and they kind of know sort of what the language is, but
get dialogue coaching, all that.
Yeah.
His father is French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's completely, but he's already fluent in French. So that was, yeah.
He was in Interstellar, small thingy.
Okay.
On IMDb, I never noticed there is a filming dates segment. So it was filmed between the 11th of May 2016 and the 20th of June. So just over a month filming.
4 weeks.
And when all those locations...
Only?
So Sleeping Beauty was in Tuscany, and then all of those is in Lombardy.
That must have been a crazy month.
Yeah.
Wow.
There is I don't remember, is it, we said Martia, or the girl who's,
His girlfriend? Well.
Martia, yes.
Yeah.
She says something at some point, the quote, Je pense que les gens qui lisent sont un peu cachotiers.
Please translate for us, Yann.
Yes. People who read books, they are secretive.
Oh, yes.
For the longest time, I was indeed in my books, closed from the outside, and I actually genuinely started to open and interact when I turned 30, and thinking about it, I don't read as much books as I used to. For some reason, there's a kind of thing in our family. I was kind of born to be a single, child. Because
or to be a bachelor.
Only child, yeah,
only child,
not bachelor.
No,
yeah. Because there was this thing on the pictures. You can see me. I was, for some reason, I don't remember. It was from birth to 3. I was completely open. I would go and dance with the accordion people in the streets, like the street performers and everything. And then my brother arrived, and you can see on the pictures, you can see me I'm holding him and I crying. And it took, then 27 years to actually open again to the outside
How did that work? So how did that affect you in the Navy then?
Well, I was just doing my thing. I ordered loads of magic stuff at the time. Especially when I was in Tahiti. I don't know. What I know is I was just, you have to be kind of social as much as you can. And I think also Sleeping Beauty affected me when I was 17 and got me a very, so you've got two things. So you got either the nice guys or the assholes.
Yeah.
And it's notorious that the nice guys don't score as much as the assholes. And, Sleeping Beauty made me the kind of nice guy who was putting women on pedestals. So I wasn't, when I tried or was interested or whatever, it didn't really work. So I just ignored the whole thing, would avoid eye contact or any of that kind of stuff. until I was 30. And I said, yeah, okay, well, I'll probably need to change my ways and start to investigate what's happening in the world.
I think it has a lot to do with nice guys lack confidence. Yeah, I think that's the major reason.
I think also there's I'm sure it's like a psychological thing as well, that nice people are nice because they understand what suffering feels like, and they don't want anyone else to feel that way.
Yeah.
So they empathize with other people, which makes it a nice guy probably goes through hell more than anyone else.
Well, yeah, I was rejected once, and didn't feel like early on, and didn't feel good, and I didn't want it to happen again. So yeah, for 20 years it was, yeah.
I can relate. Funnily enough, my mom is a psychoanalyst, so she psychoanalyzes me all the time. And
I bet that's fun at Christmas.
yeah.
Pass the potatoes. What you're actually?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Do you want to be a man? Yes, mother. No.
Are the potatoes alive or something?
What are you hiding? And I mean, we even had a thing like whenever I was ill, it was like, what made you ill? It's like, okay.
The nachos that I left in the oven for 3 days. And then,
Midi-chlorians.
Yeah, exactly. No, but she says that when I was 5, my sister was born, and I immediately changed as a person. And so I can totally relate to that. And my mum still talks about it as a trauma to me, that it was a traumatic episode that I went through, that my sister was born. And then a lot of like resentment and anger then ensued over the years.
Between you two sisters? Or
me and Ninny were always very, very close, but I like bottled up resentment and anger towards like other people and myself. Type thing.
So. I wasn't even close to my brother and sister. I was just like in my own, like, I'm still an only child kind of thing. Yeah, but I would, I mean, in terms of what was happening in my brain, because at some point, 10 years ago, my brother, he was not a legal age to drive yet. And we went to do some driving in the car, and it was him driving. And we had there was a bump, and there was a bit of a jump. So the part of the car was damaged. And I pretended it was me who was driving. And but it was like I saved his ass, because I also was allowed way more things that he was always doing bitties, like shitty stuff, like the kind of stuff you do when you're a kid. You're testing your parents, so you're doing this, what not supposed to be doing. My brother was doing that a lot, so he was getting a lot of flack. I was not like this, so I was allowed more leeway. So I used that bonus leeway I had from the past to, it was me driving.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, families are really complicated, and actually you don't really think about it, that like certain things that can be traumatic to someone could be the most amazing thing of someone else's life. And I think that was kind of the nice thing about these two films. Let's link up what we're talking about to the films, because there was a lot of family. Like, you're watching someone else's life, and that's probably why they're so long and I don't want to say boring, but kind of long.
I've just remembered I had trauma. I won't say what it is on the podcast, but something happened in my family life at a very young age, and I was about 2 when it happened, and it stunted my speech. I didn't talk for ages, and I remember learning this by getting a checkup in like the end of primary school, and they're going, "Do you still go to speech therapy?" I'm like, "What? When did I go to speech therapy?" And I went home and was like, "Mom, when did I go to speech therapy?" She's like, "You don't remember any of that?" I'm like, "No, I don't." So something happened that just shut me down. It just I didn't speak.
That's very interesting.
But I don't have that issue now. In fact, it's more funny. I'm an actor.
You're a talker as well.
The other funny story is my French teacher. This is good. We'll talk about this because one of the movies Yann wants to do for a French month is one of the movies that we used to get stuck on at like the end of the year.
The chorus? The chorus?
Yeah, they'd stick it on at the end and go like, "Oh, just watch this. It's the last day of term," sort of thing.
Vois sur ton chemin.
She was like, "The reason you won't be good at French is because you're not great at learning the learning lines." And I went, "All right, screw this. I'll be an actor."
Nice.
And then I'm like, "Well, I could probably learn French now."
You're quite good at learning lines too. So
I need to learn. I've realised I need to learn 3 languages. I need to learn French for Yann. I need to learn German for when we go and visit your mum, and I need to learn Urdu for when we visit your dad. I'm not looking forward to the third one because it's a totally different route.
Yeah.
Yeah, alphabet and stuff.
Yeah, gosh, yeah.
I have a theory about this film. You talked earlier about how they are both. When are they supposed to be set? Both Stealing Beauty around the same era.
I would say Stealing Beauty is like is it meant to be the time it comes out? It's meant to be like a
late
90s,
80s. No, well, late 90s.
96. And then this film is in the 80s, the end of the 80s. Yeah.
Okay, because they are also in Stealing Beauty, and they are mocked heavily. So there's the couple, the 2 gay characters. The one is played by Joseph Fiennes, and is talked about. They are being naughty and stuff. It's like not really talked about. And there is also a couple. But that's the reverse. It's openly talked about. And they call me by your name. So my theory is, because I think I've read the film is also based on the director's struggles as a young gay guy. So I feel like Luca Guadagnino took the 2 gay characters from Bernardo Bertolucci's Stealing Beauty and developed their story in a single entity with lots of straight lovemaking, some gay lovemaking, and a peach.
All right.
Yeah. I see that. Especially because Elio kind of makes fun of the gay couple.
Sonny and Cher, or
I love that line. That's great. Oh dear.
But it's also when I checked on Wikipedia, it's an art house kind of film. Both really poetic. Also, it's like, it's you have to be in the mood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, this got nominated for an Oscar. I'm going to watch it." You need to know a bit about it, know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Not for any of the theme matters. I think that's, if you've got issues with that, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Do you feel you have anything else to add? Because I have an explanation as to why it says "in loving memory of Bill Paxton" at the end.
Okay. Yeah. There was one thing I was going to mention. It's to do with the pacing. I honestly feel that the pacing totally works. As much as yesterday, me and Anouk were like, "Oh, come on, get on with it." It just, you couldn't make it any other way, and it doesn't. In retrospect, it doesn't feel that long.
No, not at all.
It's like life.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
If you were in those shoes, just like I was with Lucy, I was with her. Or either I was gradually falling in love with her, or in her shoes, or whatever, but it didn't feel that long at all. And here, it was just fine.
Also, both films, I feel, have a complete conclusion. I don't want any more from their worlds. I'm happy just seeing through this window, and then that's it shut.
Yeah, it was actually quite somehow therapeutic that Oliver left and didn't come back, and they didn't get have a long life together.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was getting around to. The ending. The ending of this film
is life.
It could only end that way. If it ended any other way, it's unbelievable.
No, exactly.
Like, there's no way he's going to come back, or they'll get together, or like it flashes forward to them in the future, and like they see each other on a street and that sort of bollocks. And like, no. Like, it gets revealed that not even a year later, the same year, he's getting married, and that's it. And thanks to that, we get the most beautiful, creative ending I've ever seen in a film.
Oh yeah. There's a French film like that, Le Parapluie de Cherbourg.
Yeah.
Which ends so sad. It is heart-wrenchingly sad. But you wouldn't want it any other way, and you don't know why, because why would you want to put yourself through this? But you wouldn't want them together in the end. It's okay that then that it ends sadly.
There was something I forgot to mention in 3 Billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri, which is about definitive endings. People hate ambiguous endings, don't they? I mean, I know that my dad will watch 3 Billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri, and kind of be annoyed that you don't know. It's not that he doesn't like it. I just think some people find like a therapeutic's a very good word, like a therapeutic feel to like, I know how it ends. But the ending of that makes total sense with the whole, we talked about the relationship and the journey of the people. It has to end that way. It's the same with this film. An ambiguous ending wouldn't work for this one. Like, say it ended after the scene where his dad says, like, just enjoy it. enjoy the pain of grief.
No, you need
him. You need him to try and do that, which is what he's trying to do in the final scene, like find the pleasure and the grief he's feeling at that moment.
Yeah.
Also just realized there is kind of a parallel between the closeted gay and closeted Jewish in there.
Mm.
Yeah, the Jewish thing was quite strange. We are, what was the,
They were both used to being like the only Jewish people in like the village sort of thing.
The odd Jewish
The odd
out,
Jew,
yeah.
But the mum used a phrase that
I don't remember.
Elio was like, "Oh, I used to have a Star of David that I used to wear, but my mum said that we were more of a closet Jew family." Or so, she used a phrase, and that's quite interesting because obviously you should celebrate who you are, but then it's also like you don't need to celebrate it sometimes. Sometimes it's just something that you are.
And then the film celebrates at the end because it's not Christmas, it's Hanukkah.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a guy there who plays Isaac, Peter Spears, also a producer, who sent a tweet. Many of you have asked about Bill Paxton's connection to Call Me By Your Name. Please see my response below. Thank you. A quick note to answer questions about how Bill Paxton is associated with Call Me By Your Name and why the film is dedicated to him. My husband, Brian Swardstrom, was Bill's best friend and agent for almost his entire career. Brian is also the agent of Timothée Chalamet, as well Tilda Swinton, which is how we all met Luca years ago. Brian and Bill came to visit us on the set while we were shooting in Crema, Italy, on the way to Cannes, where Bill had a movie premiere. The photo I posted a while back is from that visit. Bill and Luca became friends, as they had been great admirers of each other's work for many years, and Luca chose to honor his memory by dedicating the movie to him. A very moving gesture for which Brian and I will be forever grateful. Thank you all for asking. Peter Spears.
Oh.
I was shocked when it came up. I was like, what? From Aliens? Game over, man. Game over.
Yep.
Game over, man. Game over.
It was last year.
Yeah. I forgot Bill Paxton was gone. Yeah.
He was so young.
61.
That is young.
That's very young.
Yeah, today, yeah.
And today's standard.
Bryan Cranston's dad died at 90.
Yeah, man.
I was like 18?
No,
like, what?
No.
Jeff Goldblum is like old.
Apparently you can, just checking internet randomly there, you can buy the Call Me By Your Name house. The Perlman family home. Yeah, $2.7 million.
It's a lovely house.
Speaking of house, we have the floor plan.
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
Yes. I was watching it yesterday. I was trying to identify looking at both the screen and the... Yeah. I think we're good. We're good.
Shall we
rating.
Roll into the rating. So, Anouk, Yann was Call Me By Your Name. Good, bad, or just plain standard? Anouk?
It was great. It was very good. Definitely high good.
Middle high good. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to give it super high props because I just love that ending so much. But for me, it's a very high good. It's up there with obviously 3 Billboards and very high category. One day we'll get like a tier system. We'll like have it online of like where they are so that everyone's kind of aware. Yeah. Maybe we'll make a blog thing for that. Like it's like, oh, here's the chart. Here's the good, bad, just plain standard chart, and we update it every time we do an episode or release an episode even.
I mean, it's not like Stealing Beauty. If we ever do an episode, this one is, I was thinking, it's not even in a legendary category. It's a new one. It was so influential. So I was wondering about, maybe the masterpiece one we talked about, or I don't know. But, and also obviously Bernardo Bertolucci, he did The Last Emperor.
Oh, of course.
Ah,
Yeah.
lovely.
Why don't we come up with a category? Each of us have a vault. You can stick films in your vault. That'll come in useful later. Actually, that'll come in very useful later down the line. But yeah, that would be in your vault.
Yeah.
So then, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So that was another episode in the Oscars season series. So thank you very much for listening.
I'm interested to see what we think about this movie when we get to the discussion episode after we've seen them all. Because I reckon this one's going to stay with us. Like, the more you think about it, the more it grows and you care for it more.
Definitely.
This is a film that stays with you. So if you're in the mood for having some, as a conversational piece even, I would recommend this movie to watch. And to be fair, both of the Oscar ones are very good so far. There's not been one I've been like, this doesn't need to be here.
No, very exciting.
I'm excited to see if we can have a special guest on the Shape of Water one. A bestiality expert. No, I'm kidding. It's quite a weird premise, like a woman having sex with a fish. Well, a fish monster. But,
a merman.
Anyway, so thank you again very much for listening. We were once again we are on Spotify now, and we were
Adam,
Anouk,
and Yann. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.